Okay, this is the video for questions 16 through 20. Number 16 is from section 4.6. This is solve a polynomial, and they give you a graph. This one is easier than what you might think, because when you first look at it, your first instinct is probably to try to factor this by grouping. You should know that something's up because it's such a large, it's a cubic, it's got the negative here, these are really big numbers. Notice it says a related function is graphed, which means they've given you the graph. So all you have to focus on is what the inequality is asking for. It's saying, where is the graph, which is down below, in this case, less than 0, which means you're going to equate 0 to the x-axis. So it's asking yourself, where's the graph below the x-axis? And it's as simple as, well, this part right here is, oh my. This part right here is below, and then this part right here is below. And then now you need to come up with those values. And they actually give it to you right here. It says the x-intercepts are -5. So this is -5. This is 2. And then this is 6. And you write the interval notation, keeping in mind your sign right here. This means open, to show that your solution set runs from -5 to 2 and from 6 to, and this one keeps going, so this would be 6 to infinity. So we would say that if you come over here to the answer key, or to the answer solutions, you can mark out B. You know that it's not C because it was an open. And then now looking at your answer choices, you know it's D because it runs from -5 to 2 and 6 to infinity. So that's 16. 17, a projectile is thrown upward so that its distance above the ground after t seconds, so t stands for seconds, is h of t equals this nonsense. After how many seconds does it reach its max height? Okay, so after how many seconds, which means find t, and then keep reading, does it reach its max height? So you have to think about, if I take an object, if I'm standing here, and I take a ball and I throw it up, right? You've got to know what kind of graph that's going to be. It's going to be a quadratic, and you can even look right here and see that because it's to the second power, it's quadratic. They want us to find this right here. They want how many seconds will it reach its max height. So we're finding the vertex, and we're not even finding the whole thing if you think about it. We're finding the x-coordinate of the vertex of the quadratic. Well, in this case, there is no x, it's a t. So I'm going to come underneath it and put t. I would include this on your 3x5 note card. The formula for the x-coordinate of a vertex is -b/2a. I would put that on your note card for sure. And like I said, we don't have an x, we actually have a t, doesn't really matter. Okay, so you have to look over here at your quadratic. A is -16 and B is 440. All right, so -b over 2 times A. You'd go to your calculator and you would divide that, and you get the decimal 13.75, and this was time, so seconds. Now the question, if you look at your answer choices, they're all rounded to the nearest whole number, which is why the answer is B, that it's approximately 14 seconds. Number 18, use the quadratic formula to solve. You do have to remember to have everything over to one side and in the correct form. So when you subtract that 5x over, it actually is going to squeeze right in the middle. We have A is 1, B is -5, C is 35. Y'all know me, I've already said in a video that I find my quadratic formula I split it up and do the discriminant first. So we got b squared minus 4ac. Then you would go and type all that in and you get negative 115. Now I'm going to finish the formula. I would include the quadratic formula, or no, I will give you the quadratic formula on the board. You don't have to write that on your note card. Now, if you're not very comfortable with it, you may want to put an example of, how you solve it, but I'll give you the formula. So it's negative, then b, plus or minus square root. I've already found that nonsense, all over 2a. Now it's a matter of cleaning it up. So that's 5 plus or minus. This negative under here means it's going to come out as an I and become positive. And the square root of 115 does not break down at all. It's not perfect. And then that's 2. Now, when you go to look at your answer choices, clearly we know it's not A and we know it's not D. It comes down to a matter of B or C. If you notice the difference here, they have 5 over 2. That would have been if it was 25, because the square root of 25 is 5. So that lets you know that the answer is C. They also like to write, the My Math Lab likes to write the fractions separately. So while we came to this answer here, that is the same answer as this format here. Number 19, solve the logarithmic equation. So this comes from the last section we covered. Think back to what I said. If it says a single log equals a number, you can convert it. If it's multiple, you have to do a different approach. Try the rules and see if you can condense it. If you look, this is a subtraction right here. Subtraction translates to fraction. So we have just a single ln with a big old fraction with x on top and x minus 2 on bottom. Then over here we just have ln of 7. And then now, because we were able to get it to ln of something equals ln of something, because it's a single ln equals a single ln, then the of parts have to match. And we can just drop the ln's and now solve from here. Be careful, this is a basic proportion. You have multiple terms on bottom, so when you go and cross multiply that, you end up with 7 times the quantity x minus 2. You do need to distribute. And now it's basic multi-step linear equation. Subtract 7x and then divide by 6, negative 6. So you end up with negative 14 over negative 6, which becomes positive 7 over 3. And you actually can type that left side in your calculator and then type the right side in your calculator, and you can confirm that you'll get the same decimal to check yourself. Last one, solve and write in interval notation. Okay, this is something I would put on your 3x5 index card. When you're doing absolute value inequalities, there's 2 scenarios. It's either less than or it's greater than. Now, it could be, of course, the or equal to, but we're talking about, is it pointing left or right? If it's a less than, you have to translate, like when you go to set it up, it translates to between the negative and the positive. If it's a greater than, think back to what I taught you. It's the great outdoors, which means that it's like the expression is going to be less than the negative and then greater than the positive. In terms of shading, this is what it means in terms of shading. There's one set if it's in between, There's two sets going opposite directions if it's the great outdoors. This particular problem is a less than, which means when I go to set it up, I'm going to do 7x plus 5 has to go, sorry, I don't like how I wrote that. Because it's less than, this is in between. So this expression is going to be in between negative 12 and positive 12. And that's how you set it up. Now the signs go like this every time. I would definitely include one of these on your 3x5 because this is where a lot of people forget how to proceed. Now you're going to solve it and you have 3 sections of work. So I'm going to subtract 5. Wait, not 5, that's 7. Now you're going to divide everything by 7. So although this is ugly, I'm just going to write it over 7, and this would be 1. And then you translate that to interval notation. So this is saying it's in between, your solution set is in between negative 17 over 7 and 1, which is why D is the answer. I'm going to change to green and do a what if, because that doesn't help you with the great outdoors scenario since it ended up being a less than. So let's say, what if it had been, I don't like these numbers. Let's make it slightly nicer. Let's do 2x minus 4 greater than 6. Okay, so this is a greater than problem, which means that I've got to set up 2 inequalities. I'm going to do this expression going less than the negative, and then, oh, I'm going to run out of room. Let me move that. I'll move it right here. So I would do the 2x minus 4 has to go less than the negative value, and then I would copy the exact inequality because that's going greater than the positive. And now you would solve these individually. So I'd add 4. Oh, I would pick an example. I made up one and it's going to end up flipping the sign. But anyways, so I'd add 4. Then I would divide by, oh no, it doesn't. 2. All right, when I divide by 2 here, I get negative 1. When I divide by 2 here, I get 5. Perfect. I thought my 2 was negative. So this would end up being shading left of negative 1 and greater than 5, which gives you 2 inequality solution sets that you would have to write. So there's an example of a what if. This was not that problem, that's why I changed colors, but that's a what if, how you would set it up for the great outdoors. Just remember that the left value, is negative, and then the right value is positive.